We Nepalese believe that the current problem in Nepal will eventually get sorted out. We also are aware that given the inherent strengths of Nepal, as I have underlined above, Nepal's future is extremely bright. With such strong inherent fundamentals, we know that Nepal can't go wrong. It has to emerge as a highly prosperous country. It's just a question of time and also a question of someone emerging to demonstrate the political will and vision to transform Nepal. Meanwhile, the Nepalese diaspora has done a wonderful job in sustaining Nepal's economy through huge earning, as I said earlier, to the tune of 30% of the GDP. And at the same time, they are visible in all different forms of profession that range from participating in labor-intensive activities to running some of the world-class businesses. Nepalese are heavily involved in operating hotels and restaurants, not only in Europe, but also in Japan, China, and America. Nepalese handicrafts have made a mark for themselves in the field of carpets and pashmina. One will find lots of Nepalese stores in many parts of the world. Nepalese are in construction companies in the Middle East. Nepalese participation in travel trade worldwide is significant. In the field of entrepreneurship, I can cite one such example which happens to be part of our global operation. Under the leadership of our non-resident family members, Sinovation Group, headquartered in Singapore, which was established some 15 years ago when Nepal was gradually pushed into this insurgency, has today become quite a visible and well-known South Asian conglomerate. Its presence spans from New York to Middle East to most part of South Asia, including ASEAN and China. Its presence in hospitality, fast-moving consumer goods under a very well-known brand called YY, real estate and infrastructure, including cement, in these countries have attracted significant investments and collaboration. It has partners like Taj, Alila, Jetwing, and Lafarge. This is just an example of how even entrepreneurs from small countries within South Asia can demonstrate a significant instance of regional and global enterprise building. This is despite the fact that Nepalese have joined the race on entrepreneurship much later. There are Nepalese professionals who are here in Singapore at the NUS and other universities. There are Nepalese scientists working in NASA, software engineers engaged in Silicon Valley and Disneyland, Nepalese banking and financial experts handling multi-billion-dollar portfolios in various financial institutions such as Lazard Frères, Dimensional Fund Advisors, DFA, Goldman Sachs, etc., begging a serious question as to why it is that Nepal abroad do better than in their own home front. The Nepalese people are skillful and capable, and country is rich in mineral and non-mineral resources. The missing link is the Lee Kuan Yew type of leadership, with vision rousing the nation, with his clarion call that the world does not owe us a living, and that a nation must work hard to achieve progress. Nepal can be a good destination for foreign investment, even for Singapore capital, when I see Singapore's ongoing economic cooperation with many of the neighboring countries in South Asia. Singapore is a significant trading partner for Nepal, but this very traditional and cordial diplomatic ties still needs to be bolstered through establishment of bilateral consulars, consul general's offices, or even embassies. India and the South Asian neighbors. India, in the center stage among South Asian nations, is both a huge powerhouse of opportunity for other South Asian neighbors on the one hand, and at times a big challenge to deal with on the other. The experience of other South Asian nations, as I've engaged with them regularly on many forums, has been similar. They feel that while India is preparing to take over as the third largest economy of the world and as one of the most industrialized countries of the world, it has not been able to take along with its other South Asian neighbors in the region, in this journey for prosperity. India is quite often perceived as meddling in the domestic politics without being able to solve much problem, and at times also seen as a problem than a solution. Leaving the politics aside, even on the trade front, the huge trade surplus in favor of India drains out the entire earnings of the other neighboring countries. Nowhere can you have a highly progressive and prosperous leader with paupers as their allies and neighbors. One such example is the Maoist problem in Nepal, which according to His Excellency, the Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, has developed into a single biggest challenge that India ever faces. While India is heading to become a world power, the irony is that 15 of its states are infected by the armed insurgency of the type experienced by Nepal. Such is the contradiction. Likewise, India is facing a serious problem in dealing with the border issue, vis-à-vis the inflows of the South Asian neighbors into India seeking jobs, which time and again creates unpleasant political and social backlash. This underscores the urgency of balanced prosperity in the region, in which India, as the biggest regional economy, can and should play an important role in helping rise the surrounding economies. Therefore, it calls for a serious reconsideration of the Indian foreign policy vis-à-vis its neighbor in South Asia. In this context, I wish to mention that it is saddening to note that SHARC is the world's poorest example of an economic bloc. SAPTA and SAFTA have been non-starters and have been overtaken by far by the Indian bilateral trading arrangements. In this context, I wish to make a mention of what Tarun said this morning. And I think that was a very courageous, very positive statement that he made, that the onus is on India to make propositions to open up the Indian market to the South Asian nations to address this huge trade deficit by giving duty-free access on a non-reciprocal basis. I think Tarun, with his background of CII, with decades of understanding of how the bilateral trading and investment regimes have been moving forward over the decades, if he feels that there is a significant merit in that statement. Talking about these imbalances, I wish to talk about the extremely volatile situation that Europe is facing with regard to euro in recent time. Some argue that euro is on the verge of collapse, as countries within Europe, such as Greece and Portugal, are on the verge of defaulting. This is a clear example of how imbalances and disparities within one region can have much larger implication even for those whose economies are bigger and stronger. I wish to re-emphasize on the need for South Asian diaspora to come together to operate in a more cohesive and united manner. I also would like to stress that the current difficulties in Nepal are only short-term and that Nepal is essentially an investment-worthy destination with more than 83,000 megawatts of identified hydropower harnessing potentials, tourism, hospitality, business potentials emanating out of Himalayas ranges, unique trekking routes, destinations of over 400 million of followers of Lord Buddha. Let short-term constraint not overshadow the long-term good prospects. The South Asia region has to force strategies to enhance intra-regional economic cooperation in real sense based on principles of mutual progress with some broader gestures of cooperation coming from larger economies without necessarily seeking reciprocity. While reciprocal treatment sounds good in theory, you cannot have two countries with completely different socio-economic capacities and huge development divide to compete freely. It is in the interest of the large country as well as the whole region that the large economy assist the surrounding small economies to become competitive, as is done by the original ASEAN countries towards helping the newer members like Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam to coexist with the stronger countries in the region. Before I conclude, I wish to also congratulate ISAS for having been able to create this special forum, not only for the South Asian diaspora, but also for the people who come from different walks of life from the South Asian regions, which has presented an excellent platform for network, for understanding the problems and prospects, aspirations in a very free environment. As I said earlier, unfortunately, SHARC has remained a non-starter, and SHARC Chamber even more. SHARC Chamber could not provide a platform, unfortunately. While I do have to take some responsibility for that too, because I was also the founder, vice president of the SHARC Chamber, but unfortunately, I have to admit that SHARC forums have remained as a forum where the media and the whole world just looks at the Pakistanis and the Indian leadership gestures, or it's a platform for meeting between the two, and sometimes even a handshaking ceremony between Musharraf and President Musharraf and the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh totally overshadows all the internal serious issues that surround South Asia. So I would like to call upon ISAS to make this event, make this forum larger, make it somewhat like a forum for the businesses as well as academics, to come together and play somewhat a similar kind of a role as the World Economic Forum does in many different parts, including Davos. Thank you very much.